Hi, it's Therese from Lostinpaper and I'm at the Waffle Flower channel today sharing a Peekaboo Sunbaking Bear card for Fun Friday, and I thought I'd share it here at my channel as well. Alright, so I'm going to be using the Stay Cool set, and this is a great summery set which has some really fun images. And to make my Peekaboo window, I've got the Instalove die, and this is the largest of the dies. It's a set of 3, and I've die cut that with some white cardstock. Now I want to sort of work out where to stamp my image. So I have my card within my Misty stamping tool, and I've got it folded over. It's a top fold card, and I've held the Instalove die in place, and then I could sit my image on top. And I did protect my card front, I don't know why, because I am going to cover it with cardstock, with some acetate. I'm using some black ink and just stamping out the image on the inside of the card, and then just to make it easier for me, I have actually, and I'm protecting the inside because it's a pigment ink, with some scrap paper, but I'm going to stamp the image again on top. This is just with the leftover ink from the initial stamping. And that's just simply so I can work out where to die cut my Instalove sort of Polaroid again, so that I can see the bear's head through my window. You'll see what I mean down the track once I sort of start putting the card together. Right, so I ran that through my die cutting machine, and I've got a piece of sort of a teal, blue, green colour cardstock. It's cut to the same size as my card front, and I've just held it behind the window and used a pencil to draw where the inside of the Instalove die or the Polaroid window is. And then I can simply just use my paper trimmer. This has got a guide wire in it, and cut away that rectangle in the middle of the Polaroid. You could easily use a craft knife and that would do exactly the same thing. Alright, now I'm going to stamp out my little scene, and this towel is from the same stamp set. I've masked off my bear, and then I thought it'd be fun to have him lying by and it's a coconut tree, and it's from the Tiger and Lily stamp set. And finally I'm adding a tub of ice cream, and I did wipe away the ink from the cherry on top because I wanted it to be red. So I'm using the My Pleasure ink to just touch that on the cherry, and then I can just stamp that straight over top again. How cool is that? So today I'm going to be doing some Prismacolor pencil colouring, and I am kind of keeping it pretty simple because I want it to look a little bit cartoony, but I do come back in a little bit later and add a little bit of shading, but mostly I just kept it very simple. And the way I like to colour with these pencils is to add a couple of layers of pencil first before I come in with my Gamsol. And this is a nice smooth white cardstock, and it works really well with a lot of different mediums, and especially these pencils. It comes up lovely. I did allow a bit of time for the pigment ink to dry before I coloured with the pencils. You could also just lightly heat set it with your heat tool if you wanted to do that before you started colouring, just to make sure the colours didn't bleed, but I didn't have any problems here. So I wanted to keep the bear quite a light colour because I wanted him to look like he was a bit sunburned, like he's been sitting out in the sun too long, in the Australian sun. So we actually have UV warnings here. If you go and check the weather reports, it'll actually tell you how many minutes it's going to be until you get burnt if you're sitting out in the sun. And sometimes it's like 10 minutes. It's not very long. Even on a non-sunny day. It's so not fair. Alright, so back to the card. I am using Prismacolor pencils today because I didn't want them to come through. This is directly on the inside of my card, my little scene, and I didn't want to be able to see anything through the back of the card, and I didn't want to have to cover it with anything. So a really good choice is Prismacolor pencils because they're easy to use, and then I can actually turn the card over and you can't see, like the Copics would bleed through the actual cardstock. So I'm layering up the colours, just choosing some fun summery colours, using my blending stumps. I do keep a blending stump for each sort of colour family because the stumps are really cheap and I'm really lazy. I don't want to have to sharpen them or clean them every time. So for me to clean my stumps, you might see like what I do, add the Gamsol and just wipe it onto the white paper that I'm leaning on, just off to the side, so I end up with really messy paper, but you probably can't see it here because I sort of do it off camera, and just that will just take enough colour off the blending stump so that I can use it on the colour that I'm actually colouring at that point in time. And I have kind of created my own background just with some sandy hills and just a really little bit of light blue for the sky. So I'd probably have to write my sentiment beneath this, otherwise you could always write it on the inside of the front or add a little post-it note and decorate that, and that can be removed. Because I coloured the cherry with the ink and then again with the pencil, I did have to come back and outline it with my black Prismacolor pencil so that it kind of matched the rest of the image. And my bear's belly, I didn't really like the colour I'd coloured my bear, so I did come back in with a warmer brown just to add a different shade, and that's another great thing about Prismas. So I'm going to work on my sentiment now, and I've die cut a bright yellow speech bubble from the balloon messages set and stamping one of the images, one of the sentiments out of the same set with some black ink. I did kind of hold it against the window so that I knew that the speech bubble would be kind of facing the right way when I stamped it out. Just adding some adhesive to my front panel that I've already cut the window in, and then I can just pop that onto the front of my card. And that window worked out perfectly. If it didn't, I would have probably set it, like if I had cut it too short, I could set it a little bit higher and then always cut the bottom of the card. So if you haven't measured something correctly, make sure you push it towards the fold of the card, because you can always cut the bottom off a card, but you can't cut it away at the fold unless you're adding it to a new card base. Now I've adhered the white Instalove Polaroid frame to the front of the card, and then I have die cut a bright yellow one out of the same yellow cardstock and just adhering a matching one on the back side of the design, which you can see when you open the card. It just finishes it off, keeps it neat. Some crystal glitter pen to the inside on my ice cream here because it's glittery, it's hot, it's melting. And some nice strong tape to hold my speech bubble in place. And just having that speech bubble die cut exactly the same and lay it up on some foam gave it some dimension but kept it really neat, because you are going to be able to see the back of this when you open up the card. I wouldn't have been able to pop it up. It wouldn't have been strong enough, like the cardstock wouldn't have been strong enough without the support of the foam. So that's my finished card for today. Thanks for joining me. I'll be back again real soon. Till next time, happy paper crafting. Bye.